Hey guys, this is the Blue Collar Future Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Robison, and I've got Bobby Armstrong with us today. Bobby, how's it going, dude?
It's going. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful day.
Yeah. Down there in Arizona.
Yes, sir. Down there.
Dude, I learned, maybe I've learned this before, but I feel like it's the first time I'm hearing of this, that Arizona doesn't observe daylight savings.
That's right, man.
That's crazy.
It was liberating when I moved here. It was a game changer.
How long has that been? I mean, has that been something that they've never observed or what?
Since I've been here, man, 2014. I don't know when it started or I don't know. I'm not sure.
When I was asking if you were in Mountain Standard Time, because Arizona's, same vertical, I guess, as I am in Utah. And you were like, I don't know, it depends on the time. I was like, what do you mean? And we just barely had daylight savings time. So
yeah, I made a post about it.
yeah, so annoying. But that's got to be weird. I mean, usually you think when you're traveling east and west that your time's going to change, but here you can go north and south and it's going to change an hour.
Yeah, it depends on everybody else. Like it's sometimes I fall under mountain, sometimes I fall under Pacific. So, but the sun's still, in the summertime, 5:15, the sun is up. There's no alarm clock needed, and I mean it stays daylight until like 9 o'clock. So
yeah, I feel like it's such a waste, and maybe it's a good sign that there are some people that actually don't observe daylight savings time, so the rest of the world can be like, oh yeah, or I guess the country can be like, oh yeah, we don't need to do that because it's a waste.
So there is a reservation, the Navajo reservation up north by the Grand Canyon. They observe daylight savings time.
Why? Why is that? Yeah.
% sure. I just learned about that myself. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll just get right into it then, Bobby. What do you do?
I am a HVAC professional. I've been in the labor side, I've been in the install side, I've been in the technician side, residential, commercial. Since 2018, I've been in and out of the office, so I got some huge insight on how the office works. But yeah, everything HVAC.
I saw, I think you posted on a story or something, one of your videos, somebody was commenting, talking crap, saying residential hacks need to get out of the world or something. And I was like, isn't he a commercial HVAC technician or something, or like, or in the commercial world? But it's funny how that.
Yeah, being a service manager, I quickly learned that you can take a residential guy and turn him into a commercial industrial technician. But the commercial industrial technicians will refuse and make up every excuse why they don't want to do a residential service call. So you can't make a commercial guy residential, but you can make a residential guy commercial.
Interesting.
That was a hard lesson learned.
How does that look on the install side? Does that the guys that do the rough HVAC or the install for it? I mean, I would imagine a commercial job's a lot more intensive than a residential job, but do they feel the same way?
I would say yes, and it is a completely different game. Like in commercial, we're doing like rigid, hard drawn copper. Residential, we're doing soft copper. So yeah, it's a big difference, but yeah, it's the same. Like we'll pull a residential guy, and if I don't lay the job out for him and say, hey, this has got to be hard drawn copper, you got to take this routing, he'll go in there with soft copper and it'll look like shit.
Yeah. Have to be redoing everything he's done.
Yeah.
I talked to the guy that was doing the HVAC on my house, and they just had sent one guy out, and it didn't even take him very long, maybe like a couple days. And I was surprised that that's typical for residential jobs. It's like 1 to 2 guys doing the HVAC, is what he said at least. And I was like, man, I would assume it would be you'd be able to send more and get more done. But he was like, no, usually it's just 1 guy or 2 guys maybe getting this stuff done on those.
Yeah, and residential, I spent most of my residential careers in Florida, and I would be the guy. They would give me a helper, but I would show up at a house and I wouldn't leave the house until the AC was up and going. But I'd rip out the unit, install the new unit, and next day, new house. But if it was if there was duct work involved, usually it'd be like, 2 to 4 man crew doing the ductwork, and that's when it would extend multiple days. So it
Yeah.
really just depends on the size of the job. But on like a
Yeah.
system, it's, one day should be one day
Yeah.
typically.
He was just on his own doing all the like everything from the ground up because we were building the house. So that surprised me because I was like, man, it should be a couple guys, and it didn't even take him. I mean, seriously, it was like a couple days, maybe 3 days to do it, and I was like, wow. But he
It
said he
really
came from
isn't.
the yeah, he
I'm
came
sorry, go
from the
ahead.
commercial world. So, and he was like, yeah, I'd rather be on the bigger commercial jobs, but so I don't know, maybe it's easier for someone who's used to some of those bigger jobs to go
Dude,
to a house.
go. I'll do residential all day long because it's like I get to turn the brain off because it's easy compared to commercial. There's so many
Yeah.
bells and whistles and details when it comes to commercial that just don't exist in the residential.
Yeah, well, I think that's common. I mean, you look at concrete, for example, the world I come from, like there's so many more specifications and requirements for commercial concrete than there is for residential concrete, even down to the mix that you use. It's got to be right and have testers on the site to test the mixes and stuff. On residential jobs, it's super lax. Like you don't, and that's why you get so many freaking hack concrete guys out there that don't know what they're doing because it's super easy to do residential concrete. And if it looks like crap, oh well, is what it
So
is.
is Utah blowing up kind of like how Arizona is with the residential, just building track homes like crazy down there or what?
Yeah,
Or up there?
yeah, it is. Yeah. So I feel like we've always been really busy with a lot of new homes, but there's a lot of people moving here, and it's a pretty good place to be. So there's just like a insane housing shortage, and like especially COVID or maybe a little bit right around there when the housing market was going crazy. People were coming from California with cash paying like 25% more than asking price for houses. And you'd get like people were selling houses and they were getting 20 offers and all of them were over asking. So people here couldn't afford to buy just a regular house because they were going in thinking that, they were going to be able to buy it for what they were asking for. And these people were getting 25% more in cash. We have a housing shortage at the moment, and so there's just a lot of cookie cutter, homes with small lots going in everywhere, trying to
Same,
keep
the
up with it.
exact same.
So,
Sounds the exact same. But yeah,
yeah,
we call them track neighborhoods here because they're like
yeah,
maybe 4 or 5 different floor plans
yep,
and like 1,000 different houses in one subdivision.
yeah. We contribute to that a little bit. We work for a contractor that's got, I think we're working on 4 or 5 different subdivisions right now, 2 townhome subdivisions, and then a couple that are just they're just cranking out homes that are all the same, basically the same floor plan. They've got like 4 or 5, and then when people go build with them, they can make like minor changes and stuff. But yeah, the entire subdivisions, hundreds of houses, and they keeps us busy. I mean, we do
Good,
some big
good.
customs and we do some track homes. It's kind of the market right now.
Good.
Yeah. So, how did you get into HVAC? Sounds like you've probably just been in it for a long time, right?
Yeah, yeah. Shit, I'm 44 now. I graduated tech school in 2001, so 20 plus years. But I was I was working at a intermodal logistics company, and they had a fleet of 1,000 trailers, refrigeration trailers, and I dabbled in the diesel side because there's a 4-cylinder diesel engine that runs the refrigeration on the trailer. So I don't like to say I'm a mechanic, but I dabbled in the diesel engine. I knew how to do the trailer repair from my dad's shop. I grew up in a commercial auto body shop.
Hmm.
And so I didn't know how the refrigeration side of these trailers work. So it was like black magic. It piqued my interest. I wanted to know. I wanted to work on the stuff. And then one day my buddy was like, "Hey, let's go tour this trade school." I set us up a tour. So I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I kept hearing commercials on the radios for it, this trade school, this HVAC trade school. So I went on the tour, and by the time the tour was over, I was signed up. Like I didn't know what I was doing. They were just like, here, do this, sign this, do this. And like next thing I know, like 2 weeks from now, I'm, in these classes. But it was a year-long course, cost me 10 grand. I got
Uh-huh.
qualified for a bunch of government student loans. I got some grant money. And I think over the course of the year, there was like $700 that wasn't covered by the loans and the grants. So I had over the course of the year, I just had to pay like, monthly payments totaling $700. But, um, and then after I graduated, I had to pay those government loans back. I was like, 21. I didn't give a shit about paying loans back. I didn't know nothing about it. And eventually it caught up with me and they started garnishing my wages. Like, I think it was almost 10 years later, they started garnishing my wages and it was like $600 a paycheck. So they were
Jeez.
taking like they were taking like 80% of my paycheck until I paid those loans off.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy right now because there's a bunch of people in outrage that the Department of Education just got axed by the executive order, and a lot of people are posting on threads. I keep seeing those little snippets that you see on Instagram linking to threads, and people are like, "My student loans are through Department of Education, not, whatever else is supposed to be taking these over." And they're like, "I'm not paying these back." And then all the comments are like, okay, well, F your credit score. It still is going to count. It's not like you don't have to pay it back just because the Department of Education's gone. Anyways, I think it's,
Dude, it took them 10 years. It took them 10 years, but they tracked me down and they
yeah,
like I didn't have a choice. They were taking it out of
yeah.
my check. So if you got a
Isn't that
government
funny?
loan, pay that
Yeah.
shit off.
Isn't that funny how that works? Because, um, what government agency is it that keeps failing their audits? Like they can find this, $10,000 that they loaned you that you haven't paid back, but all these other government agencies have all this misplaced money. Um, it's like, oh, yep, just gone, it's thrown to the wind, whatever.
Yeah, it's a shame. But
Yeah,
it's an
it's
eye
crazy.
opener actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't know if I want to get too political here, but it is pretty crazy. So, how was that trade school for you then? I know a lot of people, I'm not like too familiar with trade schools versus just like joining a union and having your training and stuff done through that. I know a lot of people try to act like trade schools don't really have a place because unions, it pays for your schooling and stuff. So, how did that kind of look for you?
I'll tell you what, when I got out of school, I got a job and they threw me on an install replacing a system and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Like no idea. Like the school the school gave me the fundamentals, like how a transformer works or, how a relay works, Ohms and Watts law. It taught me all that stuff. It didn't really teach me any real world executing the work, basically. That I learned on the job. And, with my experience in diesel mechanics and trailer repair, it's fairly easy. But I would definitely recommend school only because the guys that learn on the job aren't getting, unless they get hooked up with like a really good senior or super, but they're really not getting those fundamentals.
Uh-huh.
They'll have to go to YouTube to get those fundamentals, and they might not know what to search on YouTube to even find that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend school, but it's, I think the one by me, the school by me, the trade school by me, the big one is RSI. They're like 20 grand right now.
Yeah.
But even
I
then,
mean,
I mean, it's the same thing. You can still get the government loans. You can still get the grants. So I would recommend school.
yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting to me because this whole union versus non-union trade school versus like on the job, like there's so many people that are super passionate about it, but everywhere you look you find someone that has done well one way or another, and it's like there shouldn't be a right answer, I think, for everybody in general. I think it's person to person, but there's a lot of people that act like there is. So yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. Are you a part of a
Yeah.
union or
Yeah. No, I'm not. I was just getting ready to say I really can't speak on
yeah,
behalf of the union because
yeah,
I might be biased. My whole career has been non-union. All I know is, the pros that people tell me that have been in the union.
Uh-huh.
the cons that the people tell me that have been in the union. So I,
Which some people act like there are no cons to being in a union, which
dude,
is
that
funny.
freaking. So
It's
I did
funny.
have the union approach me,
Yeah.
and I thought about it. I thought about it real hard. I even put in my 2 weeks notice, and they tucked me off the ledge. But the deciding factor once I broke it down was there is a number one. There's a ceiling with the union. There's a ceiling with the pay, and there's a ceiling with how far you can go in the field. Because once you're out of the field, you're not a union guy. So you can make it up to super, and if you want to make it past super, from what I understand, no, this is a guy that's not union talking about the union, but from what I understand, if you want to make more money past super, you have to be a trainer, and then that's it. And then another thing that bothers me about the union is I believe in the guys that go the extra mile, that work hard. They're the first ones there on site. They're the last ones to leave. They're busting their ass. Those guys should be rewarded.
Uh-huh.
And in the union, you're just in a pool of guys. And if you got a guy that's doing the bare minimum and a guy who's busting his ass going the extra mile, they're on the same pay scale.
Yeah.
And then the union guys will be like, oh, well, that mediocre guy will just get benched. No, he won't. The guys that
No.
go below mediocre will get benched, but the guys that are doing just the base amount of work to get by, they're making the same amount of money than the guys working hard. So where's the incentive for the guys that, work hard?
Yeah. That's always
And in my opinion, that's why when you see a union job, you see five guys standing around and one guy working. I
that's
don't know if that's a thing,
that's
but
always been my observation. I feel like it takes away all the incentive for working hard and getting ahead. I mean, like you said, there's guys that are like, "Oh yeah, well, you can still get ahead by working hard and stuff." But I mean, it's almost like a lot of what I've seen, it's almost like government jobs where a lot of times you work hard, try to get ahead in a lot of government jobs and they almost like throttle you more for trying to do more work. So it feels to me like not being able to have an incentive based or merit based pay increases really would be demoralizing. And I think anybody getting into a union that wants to do that would quickly become disgruntled with it because it's like it doesn't matter what I do. I could mess up a bunch and the union is gonna step in and take care of me and find me another job. And so it just doesn't even matter. And on one hand, that might incentivize people more because they know that they have job security. On the other hand, it might be like, all right, this sucks. I need to go somewhere where I can actually get ahead by what I do, not just showing up doing the bare minimum. But
yeah, I
I don't
think
know.
I think I think if you're young and you're still like a virgin to how job sites work and how workflow works and all that stuff, I think joining the union would probably be a really good thing because you be in there for life, you get all your benefits and you don't know any different.
Uh,
But I think, guys like me, it'd be a struggle because I'm a workhorse. If you need me to sweep the fucking floor, I'll sweep the floor. If you need me to
uh,
install this air conditioner, I'll install this air conditioner.
uh,
And so going to the union would be like going backwards for me.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of how I see it. But I do see the benefits to them.
Hmm.
So I
Definitely.
I just I just really want to see a conversation between someone who has been in a union, had a bad experience, gone non-union, had really good experience, and talk that out with someone who is all pro-union because that almost always turns hostile
Hmm.
because people are so like defensive of their unions that they have because it does give them all these great benefits and stuff and they don't even want to see a different side and I just want to see something like that, a conversation. It's like, no, look, this it doesn't always work in every scenario, um, and that's just the way it is. Instead of just pushing this union deal as like, if you're not a union member, you're basically a hack, is what a lot of them they go that far. So I don't know, it's crazy.
I
So
do envy the camaraderie and the brotherhood that is in the
yeah,
union. I
yeah,
think it's important, and
hmm
I don't see it very often. It's almost like a band of brothers, kind of like the military. They watch out
Yeah.
for each other. I envy the shit out of that. I'm
Yeah.
a team guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be one of the main draws towards one. But that's interesting if what you've learned is kind of true, that you are basically in the field and you're kind of capped at pay at a certain point, and to get paid more, you got to be a trainer, and then you can't really move past that. What I've always thought is a cool thing about being in construction is you can start as a laborer and move all the way through a company and get to move almost as high as you want in a lot of different companies through time there and stuff. But if you're basically capped at a superintendent level, essentially, or being a trainer in a union job, and you have to be on in the field all the time, that is another reason why a union job might not be the best, because you're essentially, you are kind of not, you don't have as many options. You're doing this job essentially forever. Maybe you can move around to different occupations in your union or something. I don't know. But you're still relying on your on-site skills forever, instead of being able to move into a different position if you want to. So maybe if you want to just do the same thing forever, maybe it's good for you. I don't know.
Yeah, so the non-union company I used to work for, they took me out of the lead service technician and put me into service manager position. I had no idea what I was doing. I had a lot of guidance and some internal schooling and stuff like that. But that's for example, that's something that you're not going to get in the union. You're not going to move into that office position and learn. Again, I'm just a fucking guy that does nothing, that barely knows anything about the union, so I'm biased.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know if you're not in the field, you're not union. You could work for a union company, but if you're in the office, you're not union. So that union protection and all that stuff, it doesn't exist in the office. But
That's
I
crazy.
never would have got that office experience.
Uh,
And there is a huge rift between what the guys in the field think the office is and what the office actually is. It's
uh-huh.
a lot of fucking politics. It's a lot of bullshit.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot of mental stress versus the physical stress being out in the field. I'll take that physical stress any day.
Yeah. Yeah, well, definitely if you're used to the physical stress and then you get moved into the office, I mean, you'd be basically starting over, essentially.
Dude, I can't sit in the fucking chair. I'm already having a hard time sitting in a chair right now.
I know. That's what I always tell people. Like, I was going to school for engineering, and I got most of the way done with my schooling, and I was just doing it because that's just what you do. You go to school, go to college, or whatever. And I was kind of getting to a point where I was like, I don't know if I can sit at a chair and you know work on. Don't even know if I can sit at a chair all day. I have a hard time sitting on a chair during podcasts and stuff. Now, this is like my. I mean, I've always had a hard time sitting down at my computer for more than a couple hours working on homework, even. So, because I just want to be active. It's not
Uh-huh.
natural to do that. And I think it's great that some people can, but it's not a natural thing for humans to be sedentary that long and staring at screens.
Yeah, I've come to the realization, and I whenever somebody asks me like, what advice do you have for, the youngins and all this stuff, is I always say that there's value in a hard day's work.
Mm,
And
for
that's
sure.
exactly what I mean is you take a field guy who busts his ass all day. He might go home and pass out, but he's going to have the best sleep of his life,
Yeah.
versus a guy who sits at a computer all day. He goes home and stresses and can't get to bed. He's got to go to a gym and wear himself out before he goes to bed. I love to work, man. Love to be
Yeah.
physical.
Yeah.
I know there's
I
going
had
to
a
be a day
question.
here very soon that I'm not going to be able to do it. My body is wearing out. I'm 44 years old, but I'll cross that bridge when I
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah. I had a question. How did you come up with your Instagram handle?
Blue collar
That's
code?
Yeah, because it's funny because a lot of times when I see people and know them from Instagram or whatever, I know their Instagram handles. So like Jesse, I know is Slim Brick, obviously, and I know him fairly well. So now I'm starting to refer to him as Jesse. But anybody else, like I see their Instagram handle and I almost don't even know their name. That's like their name. So I know your name's I've known your name's Bobby Armstrong, but I always am like, oh yeah, blue collar code, and when I'm referring, you know.
So originally I wanted to start work accounts, work related accounts, social accounts, because I wanted to, number one, promote the trades. Number two, inspire the younger generations to pick a trade. Because I come from the generation where you got to go to college to be anything, and it's slowly shifting to, now the money's in trades. But originally I wanted to inspire younger generations, and I was working at a commercial HVAC mechanical company, and I'm constantly referring back to the code book, constantly going back to the code book. And so I'm like, you know what, maybe I should name it Blue Collar Code, and I can do this series of videos where you have this like code book on how to survive a blue collar job or blue collar career. I never really did those series of videos. I did like one or two videos, but that was the premise behind it, was to get
Yeah.
like a code book for the blue collar workers.
Yeah, you should bring that back because
I,
that's
I
kind of
you know,
what
I
I.
should, now that I have like,
Yeah,
40,000 plus
yeah,
followers.
yeah. That's kind of what I figured it was started for, is almost like the code of blue collar people or something. Then you would have videos about them, but I never got to scrolling through your page to see if you had done that before. So that would be a good content strategy and definitely be good for promoting the trades and getting some younger generation interested as well. I
I'll do it. I'll do it. I can think of 1,000 freaking things. I think the
yeah.
one video that I did was never use the whitewash cloth. And if you're a blue collar guy and you have a dirty job, and your girl or your wife, your spouse, whatever's got whitewash cloths, it's a freaking trick. Don't use the whitewash cloth unless you plan on
Yeah,
replacing it immediately.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's only turned around this generation where it's not as much about you have to go to college to be successful. Because I think even when I was in school, that was still the thing. It was still like you have to go to college to be something and to be successful. And if you don't go to college, well, you'll just be a construction worker and stuff like that. And I mean, I think I'm almost 10 years from when I graduated high school, which is crazy to me. But they,
You're young, dude. You're a baby.
yeah, yeah, I know. You said you've been in the trade since 2001, right? You graduated. I think my wife wasn't even born then, and I was only like 3. So there you go.
Thanks. I feel old
They,
now. Thanks.
but that was just like the thing that you do, and it's crazy to see now that it's turning around a little bit, and I think it's because college is so freaking expensive, and you have so many people voicing their concerns about how they went to school, got a 4-year degree, did all that stuff, and they can't even find a job. They can't even find a high paying job, even though they were promised, like, yeah, if you have this college degree, you can be something. And that's all it takes. So it's interesting to see the push towards trade work. And I think it's good people like you on Instagram are doing that. And that's kind of my whole goal with the podcast and my Instagram stuff. It's like, we got to get this awareness out there and maybe not even convince people to join the trades, but convince people that it is okay to be a tradesperson instead of just like you can't be successful at all if you trades.
Right. And dude, like I said, there is value in that hard day's work, man. I mean, you're physically building your strength and stamina. I don't work out at all. My job is my workout basically. And I'll go on 8-mile hikes up and down a freaking mountain, well, of course I'll break a sweat. I'm in Arizona, but the be able to climb a freaking mountain and come back down in a day, that's awesome. And I contribute that stamina from my blue collar job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's considered a workout right there. So if you're going hiking a lot, I mean, there you go.
Workout with a view.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't beat the being outdoors either. Like
But
most,
yeah,
well, I don't know if I could say most because there are a lot of people that in their blue collar jobs are working inside, but a lot of people are working outside. And at the very least, just being active and being outside more than most people, because a lot of people get straight in their car, drive to their office job, and the time that they're outside maybe is only walking inside the office from their car. There's a lot of people that end up being like that. But just like being outside, being active, it's so much better than freaking wasting your life away at a desk. And
Right.
I don't think the money is, I don't think the money is there anymore for these like college desk job things that they've been pushing forever. Depends on what you go for. But if you don't go with a specific purpose for a job that you specifically want to go for, it's not there anymore. Um, you can make just as much money doing just about anything else. So it's pretty crazy.
That's another huge misconception between the office and the field is the field thinks that the office people make all this money. The field makes way more money than the office. Stay in the field.
Yeah, when I mean, it extends farther than just blue collar stuff, but like, I mean, the fields that really make a ton of money are being, a doctor, lawyer, engineer, like all of these things that you're not going to be making a ton of money going and getting your fine arts degree or some BS like people go to school thinking they only need the degree to be successful, so they just pick whatever sounds interesting and get to the end, and it's like there's no jobs available for you because you don't have any value to provide that is going to be worth paying you any sort of money.
I would pay money to go take like construction management classes
Yeah, yeah,
because project managers and those really high seats, those administrative seats in the industry do make money.
uh-huh.
There's project managers that are making, but they're good at their job and they're bean counters and they sit a lot at their computer and they're conflict managers, so
Yeah.
that's all the stuff that a college would teach you. And I would go to college for like construction management in a heartbeat.
Well, there's a lot of people in construction management that make a lot of money that are terrible at what they do too. That's the
That don't
thing.
belong to be there.
That don't have any idea about anything that goes on the job, and everything is in a disarray essentially. It's funny because Jesse's mentioned a few times how the project manager on the job he's on essentially is blaming them for being behind, even though they weren't ready for him to be on the job and nobody else is on top of the stuff. And now it's up to their crew to catch the project up timeline wise. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting how that
That
stuff
is
goes.
that is a tactic that project managers use is where do we place the blame? It's
Yeah.
not our fault. It's never our
Nope.
fault. Where do we
Nope.
place the blame?
Yeah.
And
So
then the
yeah.
burden of proof falls on, Jesse. Now he's got to have to prove, or his managers are going to have to prove, like, hey, here's where you fucked up. Here it is, all on the
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to do, and I love watching a project manager squirm.
So did you recently, I think you posted that you were starting your own company, didn't you? Or getting into a different position?
Yeah, I haven't really made any videos to announce that,
You were
but
just saying in the group chat, right?
yeah, yeah.
Asking questions. Okay.
Yeah, eventually I'm going to do a video on it and I'm going to start my Instagram subscriptions and offer to those subscribers my story of building my own business. But yeah, I recently quit the company I was with for 11 years. I'm a loyal dog, but I think I'm possibly going through a midlife crisis. I'm 44 years old and I cannot stand people telling me what to do. Like I am freaking done with it. And if I'm gonna get yelled at, chastised, whatever, I want it to be on my time, on my money. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna sacrifice all that stress and I might as well start doing it for myself. I'm 44 years old. It's time that I do something
Hmm.
for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're gonna start your own HVAC company, or how is that
Yeah, yeah.
going?
Yeah, the way it works here in Arizona is you have to have so much in order to get your mechanical license. There's two different levels. There's the residential and then there's commercial. Commercial's everything that's not residential. So it could be industrial, whatever. But you have to have liquid assets in order to get the insurance. Right now, I can easily get my residential mechanical license. And so that's what I'm shooting for. And plus, I don't mind doing residential, whereas most commercial guys can't do residential. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I'm actually really good with customers. I can break down all the technical terms for them. I'm very empathetic.
Hmm.
So I pick up on those body language. I can feel what they're feeling, so I sympathize with them. And that's some of the best technicians out there.
Uh-huh.
They're really good with customers, and a lot of that comes from empathy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
I
mean
don't mind
that's
doing residential. I'll do residential all day long. Like I said, it's like turning the brain off and just building a Lego house. It's like easy.
yeah. Yeah, I mean that seems like a very common pathway to be in a trade for as long as you have to, at a certain point want to start your own business. So a lot of people try to jump the gun, or they just do jump the gun and figure it out. So I don't know. I think it's different for everybody, but especially if you've been in the trade for that long, that's one of the benefits of uh of trade work is the business. Owning a business is where you can make a ton of money. It's a lot of sacrifice and risk, but you can make a ton of money. Really, if you're a business owner and you are a good business owner, you probably make more money than definitely most anybody that goes to school and just works for somebody else. Maybe even
Uh-huh.
doctors. Like as a doctor, you're still capped at the money that you make, and you have all that schooling. Anyways,
Yeah, I'm not trying to build a company, a multi-million dollar company.
yeah,
That's the last thing I want to do. I don't want the stress. I just want to go do one job, and you can do this in HVAC, but you can do one job and make more money off that one job than you would the whole entire week working for a company.
yeah,
So I just want to be able to, and I'm not going to advertise. I was thinking I was going to build a social media platform and all that just for the business, but word of mouth, especially when you're a good technician, word of mouth travels, and that's enough for me. I just want to do my one job a week, make my money off that one job, doing next week, do another job,
yeah,
and have the rest of the time to myself.
yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
trying to build enough to live comfortably, live within my means, live comfortably, and then have enough for retirement.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you don't have to build this big multi-million dollar company because, like you said, you can make pretty good money. And then being an owner operator, essentially like a one-man band, or maybe even having one employee, is pretty easy to manage. I mean, you'll be doing the work, but maybe your workload isn't going to be as much, and maybe you won't
I
need to
like
be
the
as
work.
busy all the
I
time.
like the work.
Yeah. But like that's the thing, is you have the freedom to choose. So after being in a trade for that long, you can be like, you know what, I'm going to do this for my own benefit. Start this business and see where it takes me. So
Hey, you
that's
mind if
cool.
we take a break so I can pee real quick?
Sure. Go
Hell
ahead.
yeah. Put that on the video.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
Sweet. Well, yeah, that'll pretty much just cut right out of it. I lost my train of thought. Now that we've gotten. So why
Starting
did
your
you?
own business.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, you're starting your own business, and then yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be cool. How's that going? Like, are you working on your certification right now then? Or are you just taking some time off to yourself or
Yeah, so I got so freaking burnout, man. I mean, I'm a workhorse, dude. I'm a workhorse. I'm a loyal dog. I feel like a loyal dog that's been kicked too much. So I have been off since February 25th or 26th. I've been just
two?
taking it easy,
Yeah.
doing house chores. I'm struggling a little bit with getting content, because my following follows me because of my commercial work. So it's been difficult, with content, but man, I've been enjoying myself just every day. It's zen to go out and pull some weeds in the yard, or,
Uh-huh.
like I had to caulk up some of the siding on my house. It's all the stuff that I've fallen behind on because of my professional career, my professional job. So yeah, I'm taking a couple months off. In the meantime, I'm researching how to get my LLC, and there's different companies that are out there that'll help you do that. And which I'm probably going to do is hire a company to help me get my LLC, because from what I can tell, there's a whole lot of documentation that's got to happen. And then yeah, sign up for the classes and go take the class to get my license.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I had a
It's
couple of buddies that have gotten the license
uh
that didn't even study for the test and went and took the test, and it was like easy. They're like, if you got this much experience, you should be able to go take that test, no problem. So I'm like, sure, I'll do it. I'll try it.
why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, if you've been in the field for that long, you probably should be able to just pass it, you know?
Got to know the codes. If you know the codes, you got the experience, you should be able to take the test and pass it. That's what I'm being
Yeah.
told.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's super cool. It's refreshing to hear from somebody that they want to go start a little business that they're not worried about like trying to build this multi-million dollar company. Like social media has blown out of proportion the amount of people actually get to that point and you know there's this weird culture of people that claim that if you're working for yourself but like you're in the field doing the work you don't really have a business and all of that type of stuff, but it's such freaking BS. Like there's a lot of people that just like to do the work and they want to do it on their own terms and they'll be able to make better money, really. And especially if they've been doing it for a long time, they'll be able to make better money than working for somebody else. And they just want to do it on their own terms. And that is possible. But there's a lot of people out there trying to make everybody feel bad for being essentially wanting to be an owner operator, acting like you don't own a business if you're out in the field and that type of stuff. So
I'll
it's
tell you what,
refreshing.
based on my experience working in the office, and my ADHD, not being able to sit still and all that stuff. I mean, I would look for every excuse to get out of the office.
Yeah.
If my guys needed me, if they needed parts, and that really impacted my role as manager because I was doing the work. So there is some truth to that, but again, if you're, not trying to build this huge organization, you're just working for yourself. I don't see the harm in it.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you're a manager and you're out there doing the work instead of handling your responsibilities as a manager, makes a or and you could even take the word manager out of there. I could just say owner. That would really impact the business.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
going
for
to be a
sure.
lot of stuff you're not going to be able to handle, keep track of if you're out doing the work.
Yeah, for sure. It just really depends on the situation and company structure, what your goals are and stuff. So, I mean, if you're not trying to be this big organization and have a whole bunch of people working for you and have all this work, it really doesn't matter then at that point. So, I know a ton of owner operators that do really well and they still have freedoms. They don't have to go to work all the time and they make good money and they're happy about it and they like doing the work. So not everybody's cut out to be a business owner of a multi-million dollar business or anything like that. So, and I don't think everybody should be. And it's weird to push it to everybody as well. It's almost like the anti-college, like people that are anti-college are now like, oh yeah, if you don't have this multi-million dollar business, you're not successful type stuff. So it's really weird. It makes everybody that's kind of there in the middle be like, well, what about me? I feel like I'm successful. I have a good life. I'm happy, all that stuff. Yeah. And social media has just amplified it a lot.
Right, right. Well, I might be a special case too though, because I don't have kids. I don't plan on having kids, so I don't have this lineage to look out for and help support and make sure they're well to do after I'm gone.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the Bobby show. Call it selfish, whatever. But this is the Bobby show. I'm here to take care of me and my girl, and then after I'm dead, then
Yeah.
it was a good run.
Was there a reason for that when you guys like when you were younger you decided you didn't want kids or how what was that?
Man, that's funny. So I am the middle child out of six kids. I'm one of the middle childs out of six kids. So I was the wild one. I vividly remember my mom telling me all the time, "You're going to pay for all the shit that you've done, You're going to have a child and you're going to get paid back tenfold for all the shit you've done to me." So that's always stuck with me, right? Like, great, I'm going to have a freaking kid and he's going to be twice as bad as me.
Yeah.
So that's always stuck out in my head, but I've never really wanted it, like
Yeah.
wanted a kid. I like the idea of having a kid and spreading my seed and, them, I got some pretty good genes I want to pass on to somebody else, but yeah, I enjoy the freedom. Same with my girl. She's on the same mental
Uh,
level, but yeah, we don't want to have kids, man. It's just one of those things.
Interesting. Yeah. No, it is. It is just one of those things. It's
I've had a lot of close
hard.
calls.
Yeah.
A lot of close calls, but yeah. Been lucky.
It's hard for people that really want to have kids but can't to look at people, I guess, like you that just don't care or don't want them. So it's just interesting, because everybody, I feel like, wants something that someone else has without being able to find purpose and meaning in their life. But I think a lot of people do that through kids. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
interesting.
a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And
And I don't.
honestly, my vision of, the meaning of life is, to use your gifts to help other people
Mhm.
and then reproduce.
Yeah.
That is like my meaning in life, or my ideal thought of what life is.
Yeah.
But I don't care, man. I don't care. I'm just here.
That's
This is
interesting.
just the Bobby show. This is just the Bobby show.
That's interesting to have your ideal meaning of life to be reproducing, but not having kids. That's a little contradictory.
Hey, dude, I never said I was freaking simple.
Yeah. No, I get it though. I get it. Like there's a lot of people moving that direction. I mean, after having a kid, I don't know what it would be like to not anymore. It's so weird how that goes. I don't know. That was always in my planning, was just at some point to have kids and stuff. Yeah. I'm always interested to hear people who are against that or just don't want them, what their reasonings are. It's a hard conversation because
I don't
this
know.
this could have
Go ahead.
easily been because you guys can't have kids and then it was a, struggle and you guys had a hard time because you wanted them but you couldn't have them. Like there's always those people and it's pretty common for that to happen nowadays. It's interesting to hear all the sides of how people decide to live their life.
Yeah. Well, if you break it down to probably its root,
Mm.
that's probably because I'm selfish. Honestly, it's like
Right.
I really enjoy my free time.
Yeah.
The only people I got to look out for is my girl and my dogs.
Hmm.
Of course, family and stuff, but yeah, it's probably selfish, self-centered.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. Sometimes you got to be. Some people are a little too selfless and can't ever say no, and you
Well,
gotta
I'm one of
have.
those people too, but not but yeah, kids, man, it's I just poopy diapers, man. Come on. How you handle the poopy diapers, dude? I got a gag reflex like a motherfucker.
Well, there is a reason right there. That's a good reason to avoid it, I guess. They do get kind of rank sometimes. So
Dude, I
whatever.
gag I gag if my dog takes a shit on the floor and I gotta clean it up. I can imagine a little human shitting all over the place.
Well, it's bad enough when on the job site you've got to be around when the damn shitter cleaners come around and everybody freaking scatters to the wind because it's freaking it nasty so bad. We've had times on the job. I swear they follow us around. I swear it's like every time we're on a job site, the shitter cleaner's there. Like multiple times a week, we'll have the shitter cleaner come while we're there. And I'm like, they come once a week. So it's like the one day a week that we're at this job, they're there cleaning the damn shitter. And
That's a blessing and a curse, bro.
yeah, but a curse because sometimes those things are nasty,
Yeah.
nasty, like just haven't been cleaned for weeks, it looks like. Or you've got freaking 50 guys on a job using one of them and it's just overflown and stuff. And we've had, and they're always right on our job and come and clean them. And God, on a hot day when you're scrubbing on concrete and then the shitter cleaner comes, that's bad. That's a bad deal. You can't freaking leave the concrete, but it's like you're about to freaking throw up because of the smell.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've worked a couple high rises and they
Yeah.
stick those shitters in like, the driveway. They'll
Yeah.
stick them on the floors and yeah, it's pretty rank. You can't escape it.
Well, we're coming up on an hour, so I think we'll coming up on time here. Do you have anything else you want to go over? I do have one last question, if you don't.
Shit, nothing that immediately
Yeah.
pops the head, man. Like I said, I'm a free spirit. I just ride. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, my final question is, what has been your favorite part about working in the trades? And second part, what would your advice be to some people that are considering any trade, not just HVAC?
My favorite part would probably be either the sense of camaraderie or being a part of a team. And also I was huge into archaeology. I still am. So I like to compare myself to, the guys that build the Pantheon or,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Being a part of something bigger than yourself is very fulfilling for me.
Is
So the
isn't
sense of
it
the
interesting how, just a side note, how all of this old like architecture and things that we've built, like things that have come before us, like people travel to go see these things. And these were just people, blue collar people building this stuff. And nowadays it's like almost looked down upon. It's kind of
Yep.
weird.
Yep.
But anyways,
And those guys
side
back
note.
then versus the guys now, I mean, we had the same struggles. We still
Yep.
had the bum knee or the busted knuckle, and it's the struggles are still the same.
Yeah.
But I love the sense of belonging to, belonging on a team and doing something bigger than myself. As far as what I would say to somebody that was thinking about joining the trade, man, as bad and as hard as you think the job can be, or you have those hard days, it can be 100% tougher or harder.
Mhm.
So look for the positive in that hard day's work and don't take it for granted. Because,
Yeah.
take me for example. I come from the field, moved to the office, and now I'm going back to the field. And it's because when I was in the field, it was hard, it was physical, and it was hard on my body. I was getting bruised up, banged up. And I'm like, man, I could make more money in the office. Went to the office and it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. That field, you have these kind of like you mentioned earlier, you always want something you don't have.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, man. Enjoy that field because it
Yeah.
is fun. To me, it's like building Legos. It's like playing with a Lego set.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Yeah.
the, enjoy it.
Awesome.
Learn
Awesome. I
everything you
like that.
can. Just be a sponge.
Awesome. I like that.